All right, artists, let's go ahead and learn how to make a pumpkin. First, you're going to begin with about 1 pound to 1.5 pounds of clay. Turn it into a nice round ball. Step 2, you're going to divide your clay ball in half. You can use the knife, but if you use the knife, make sure you use 2 hands and guide it flat through, or the back of the rib tool works really well too. Again, just use both hands so that you get a nice even cut straight through the middle of your circle of your ball. We're going to use these to create a pinch pot that we bring back together. We want a hollow ball for our pumpkin. So to create a pinch pot, let's review. We want to use our thumb to first poke a hole, not all the way through, about a pinky distance away from poking through. Then we're going to keep our thumb on the inside, our fingers together and cupping around the outside and squeezing the clay, rotating the clay, pushing to create our walls. Our walls need to be between the thickness of our pinky and our thumb. No thinner than our pinky, no thicker than our thumb. All right, once you have 2 pinch pots ready to go, you want to every once in a while stop and check the size. We want them to be about the same. And we're also looking for nice, flat, even lips so that we have somewhere to attach to, okay? Make sure when you're doing your pinch pot that you're not squeezing the top of the wall, but the bottom of the wall. Otherwise, you're gonna end up with really, really thin lips and won't be able to attach the two together. All right, so these look like they're gonna come together nicely. All right. Of course, if we want to attach them together, we have to score and slip. You can use the needle tool to score. You can also use a fork, or you can use the serrated rib. Add a little bit of slip. I'm only going to do it on one side this time, because I know I'm gonna blend the two together. So if I'm also blending, I don't need to slip both sides. All right. Now I'm gonna put these two together and really push for a nice connection there. Trapping the air inside. Don't worry, we will fix that later. Use either your finger or even the back of the potter's thumb, and you are just going to make that line between the two disappear. So push and pull the clay, blending it together into one. All right, from here on out, I'm gonna be very gentle because I do not want the air to pop out, okay? I don't want any projects to pop. So I'm gonna be very gentle as I do my next step. Now I'm going to turn this ball into more of a pumpkin look by adding the lines that go from the top down, okay? So the grooves of the pumpkin. So to make the grooves, first decide where is the top of your pumpkin. I think I want mine to be right here. I'm gonna use the back of my needle tool just to kind of make a little mark for myself to use as a guide. Okay, you might want to make a mark on the opposite side where you want your lines to come to. So where they start, where they end. You can either use the wooden knife tool, or in this case, I actually really like to use the wooden rib, and I like to just kind of move the rib along the side all the way from the top mark that I made to the bottom. Now I'm not really pushing super hard. I'm just gently leaving a mark behind. All right, now to make these look less like lines and more like actual grooves, I'm gonna use just my finger and some water, and I'm going to just kind of guide it along that line to just kind of smooth out the mark, make it look more like an indent and less like a line that I just drew. All right, so there is my pumpkin shape so far. Don't worry, it's gonna get a little bit flatter with the next few steps. So I'm gonna put this to the side for now because I wanna add my stem next. So for the stem, we just need a coil. We should be experts at this by now. Take a little bit of clay, make sure it's nice and moist clay so that you can roll it easily and still have some flexibility to it. If it feels too dry, add a little bit of water in there. And that should help. Now, to create some natural looking stems, we have a bunch of texture options for you. So, to create maybe a wooden texture on your stem, you're gonna use these texture sheets and just kind of roll your coil along these texture sheets, and you'll create some really interesting natural looking textures. Okay, now if you want a little curl to your stem, make sure you add plenty of water and fix any little cracks that might be appearing as you go. All right, so I think that looks pretty good. Just gonna cut off a little bit here. All right, yep, I'm pretty happy with that. Now, I'm gonna slip and score. But before I do, I'm gonna do something very important. I'm going to poke that hole right at the bottom where my lines were connecting to create a ventilation escape. Then I'm gonna push my stem onto the top. That way I can really push down and create more of a flat shape for my pumpkin. This is gonna make all the lines go out just a little bit. All right. Now it already looks a lot more pumpkin-like. Now I'm ready for my next step. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna do the face of our jack-o'-lantern. So this tool is really nice for the next few steps because you can draw with the needle tool on one side and then cut away with basically an X-Acto knife on the other side. Please be very careful with these. So first you have to decide what do you want the front of your pumpkin to be. So I think this is a nice area right here. Then I'm gonna go ahead and first sketch my plan. This is nice because if you make a mistake, you can just erase it with your finger. All right, then I'm gonna switch to the other side and cut along those shapes. Maybe cut along the shapes just a few times to really make sure you got all the way through. Poke and pull it out. Now if it's not coming out very easily like this one, you can also push it in because you know you are going to make an opening at the bottom where you can pull that stuff out. Okay, now this is a little bit messy, so I'm gonna go back and I'm gonna kind of smooth and fix as I go. All right, so there's one eye. Let's do the rest. Now I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna open up the bottom so that I can kind of fix anything that may have fell in there, or I can even take my finger and smooth out the face from the other side. So in order to do that, I'm gonna first look where that hole is that I started with, that ventilation escape. And then I might first do the same thing I did with my face and first sketch kind of where I want my circle to be. I can always make it bigger, but I can't make it smaller after I go to cut. So this is kind of a nice way to prevent any major issues. So I think that's a pretty good size. I think I can put a little T-lamp in there. Now you can either use the knife tool like we did before, or you can also use, I like to use the double loop tool for this whenever I carve clay away. And I'm just gonna kind of pull the clay out by scooping and then removing. All right. Okay, I do see some pieces in there, so I can just give it a little shake, use my finger and just kind of pull them out. And there's my little pumpkin, okay? So here's one. Here's two, and I kind of like that they each have their own little personalities. Now, this is a very basic pumpkin. You are challenged to create something a little bit different. So think about your design, think about your plan. Here's a nice one that has a really intricate drawing done. Getting these pieces carved out without accidentally cutting off a piece is difficult. So definitely challenge yourself. I like this one. This one is GHS inspired. I really like the coil eyes. And this hole definitely is big enough to add a tea lamp so that it will look like it's glowing just like a regular jack-o'-lantern. All right, so there you have it. Our pumpkin project. Let me know if you have any questions. Good luck.